A good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. And I'll let you guys get a chance to come into the conversation so we can have this discussion real quick. I just got back from Arizona. I am live right now, and it's kind of late at this time, but you guys know can't stop, won't stop. I like to just sort of talk whenever the spirit moves me. And I saw this interesting topic that I've been meaning to get around to on the podcast. And I just find, when you get a schedule as busy as mine, you just find the time when you can find it. And anyway, so I decided at 2 in the morning that I would go ahead and talk about this, so that for those of you who wake up tomorrow, you'll see it on your news feed. There's this sister that went on to Jada Pinkett-Smith's show. And I guess it's called Red Table Talk. And she said something that I thought was really interesting enough to unpack. And she basically was a transracial adoptee. I don't know the sister's name. Let me see here in the article. Let's see. Her name is Angela Tucker. And she was adopted by a white couple when she was 13 months old after her mother, who was homeless, placed her up for adoption. David and Teresa Burt raised Tucker in their predominantly white town of Bellingham, Washington, after she became a ward of the state following her diagnosis with a form of cerebral palsy. She says, quote, "I have no sense of strong identity. Being a transracial adoptee, it's really difficult to share what we really feel because we have parents who raised us and love us, and we don't want to appear that we're not grateful for what they've done," Tucker admitted to Jada Pinkett-Smith. For me to talk about transracial adoption is to hurt somebody. I'm alive, but dead inside in some ways, not knowing my culture and not being connected. Quote, "I don't feel like transracial adoption is the right solution because essentially we're asking me as a Black woman to assimilate into white culture, but to also keep my Blackness, even though I wasn't raised within it," she said, adding that she's surprised when she looks in the mirror and sees a Black woman. Now, I'd be curious to know what you guys think just based on what you've read. And I don't mean to be rude. I see you in here. I see Iceman, Susie M, Nini Beauty, Just Mayanga. Is that right? Just Mayang, Kevin Spencer, Tiffany Sidnor, and Rodney Payne. What's going on out of NYC? Okay, yeah, I'll be in NYC in 3 days. DrBoyceNewYork.com if you want to come to the seminar. We're almost sold out. We're selling out very fast. We're literally out of stuff. Like everybody who's coming is going to get like a package of books and all that, and we are out of stuff. So you probably want to get your passes soon because it looks like New York is going to be sold out. But either way, though, it's DrBoyceNewYork.com if you want to go. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Hit the share button. Hit the subscribe button. And so let me ask you this. Let's start with the basics. Give me a yes or no. Are you a fan of transracial adoption? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no, or a sort of. Maybe you can give me a sort of. I don't know. Are you a fan of transracial adoption? Yes or no? How do you feel about it? Charlene Catherine Jerry says no. Susie no. Kevin no. Michael Davis says hell no. Uniquely Made no. Ramin, Chemical MBC, Lovely Doe all say no. I'm seeing a lot of no's. Life with Lou says yes. Okay, well let me play a little bit of devil's advocate on this, right? On one hand, we know we've seen the tragedies, right? We've seen, like, I think, what was it Charlize Theron that adopted a little African baby and turned the little boy into a girl, and he's wearing tutus and shit. I mean, for Black people, that just is very awkward. It feels very weird. It doesn't mean that there aren't gay people out here. We know that they exist, but when you're making your boy into a girl and he's like 3 years old, like that's kind of, it's almost like you wanted him to be a girl. Like, I really wanted a girl. Like, almost like those guys. You ever see? I mean, you've always seen where you have a dude that wanted a boy and he got a girl, so he named the little girl like Johnetta or something, or Frankisha. Like he took a man's name and added like a Isha or an Etta on the end. You know what I'm talking about? And then next thing you know, she's throwing footballs and pitching baseballs and walking around holding a jock strap because her daddy raised her to be a boy. I mean, I guess you have the same thing on the other side, right? So I think that we've seen a lot of situations where children get adopted by people who are not Black, and it just ends up becoming a shit show. It becomes a complete mess. Now, with that said, though, here's the problem, right? We got too much niggatry out here in this world. And niggatry to me is the slave culture, where you got a lot of people out here that are making babies that ain't taking care of their kids, right? Now, white folks do the same thing. We know this, right? But white people, they seem to have lots of white people willing to adopt white babies, right? I don't really know if there is it seems that there's an oversupply of abandoned black children relative to the number of people willing to adopt these kids. Seriously, I mean, how many of you, yes or no, how many of you have ever been a foster parent or signed up to adopt a child? Is anybody in here adopted a child? Because I haven't. I have not. I have stepchildren. I'm marrying a woman who has children. Those are going to be my kids. I've raised children that weren't mine. I just scooped them up off the street, kind of, like David, my son. I dated his mom 20 something years ago, and he was around, and I figured, hey, if you got a son, then I'm dating both of y'all. Then that means we all in this relationship. And so we he became my son. He still works for me to this day. And my father adopted me. My father formally adopted me, which was critical for me because I just found out yesterday. I didn't mention this to you guys. I just found out that my biological father died of a heart attack just yesterday. I just got his son-in-law sent me a message on Facebook, which I appreciate. And he sent me a message and said, I just wanted you to know your father died of a heart attack in the shower. And I did not know. I'm not gonna say I didn't care. I was, sad for the man, but I didn't know the man, and I never missed the man. I never needed the man, honestly, because I had a man in the house who did every single thing a father is supposed to do. He did every single thing. So I appreciate life with Lou. He says sorry for your loss, but honestly, in my heart, it wasn't. I can't say it was a real loss. It wasn't like I had something there and it's gone. It's like it was not there. I concluded many years ago, 20 years ago, that the man that raised me was a better father than the other man would have been, just based on my own criteria. And it was okay. I mean, it was like, oh, wow, I feel bad for him, but I did not feel bad for me, right? So with that said, though, we don't all get that lucky. We don't all have people stepping up adopting, right? So I think that when, here's what I'll say first and foremost, when I'm looking at this sister that went on to the Jada Pinkett-Smith show and said, I don't identify being black, and she's transracially adopted. And a lot of us will say, oh, no, that ain't right. You shouldn't be adopting black kids. I think that we also have to ask ourselves, are we adopting black kids? Are we picking up those kids? Because we're not picking up those kids, then, should we really get mad at a white person? I'm talking about the good ones, not the ones who, because y'all know y'all got some freaky ass people out here that will go to Africa and adopt kids so they can molest them, or they're, like they do these things. They have sex trade with children, where they will go to countries where the children are dying to be adopted. The orphanages are filled with kids. Nobody's keeping up with these kids, and people will adopt those kids so they can do terrible things to them. And then also in the foster care system, I've seen situations where people will just take in kids for the money and not be willing to give love to those children. And for those people, there's a warm place in hell for your ass if you adopting a child just so you can abuse that child. I just have no understanding of that kind of mentality. It's sick to me. It makes me very, very sad. But with that said, it sounds like this young lady in the Jada Pinkett show was, like she was, loved. Like these white people loved her. They did the best they could with what they knew, but they don't know. But a white person does not typically have the ability to raise a black child. Just like a woman cannot raise a man, a man cannot raise a woman, right? You need some sort of support base, right? So I can raise a daughter if I have her mother around, right? A mother can raise a son if she has male support, either the father or some other male that steps in as a father figure. If you talk about if you're white and you raise a black child, you need a whole lot. You need the Negro Spiritual Council all around you. You need black people all around you that are going to help guide that child to who they really are. Because here's what happens. Here's what happens when a black person grows up and doesn't know who they are. I had a friend who I grew up with really close, and I remember being black was not a thing for him, a good thing for him. I remember a little white girl said some dumb shit to him like, well, you're pretty cute for a black guy. And I remember he was actually really giddy about that. Like, oh, she told me I was cute for a black guy. And I was like, even at 9 years old, I was like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, why would like that sounds stupid. Like that old ugly toothless white girl you talking about you cute for a black guy? She need to get out of here with her whole Sasquatch ass. And so anyway, the years went by and I watched him struggle with his identity. He hung out with a lot of white people. He joined a white fraternity. He always had white girlfriends. He married a white woman. All his friends were white. So he was always trying to fit in, always trying to get white folks to like him. And that led him down pathways that were not good for him. It led to drugs, alcohol, bad choices, depression, things like that. And I've seen that happen a lot. When Black people don't know who they are, they just tend to struggle. I just think that's real. I just think they tend to struggle because assimilation is hard, especially if you run around begging and walking up behind your oppressor, trying to get them to let you in the door. Like, and some Negroes can do it well and be very comfortable with it, but most Black people I know, they struggle with it. They don't really like the person that they are, so they're always trying to become something else. Like they might as well pull out some damn skin bleaching cream and just sit around scrubbing the skin to try to get the blackness off because they're like, well, I'm okay for a Black guy, right? And so I think so I felt for this poor young lady. I kind of heard her story and I said, man, I feel sorry for this poor girl because her parents did the best they could with what they had, but they didn't do right by her. And so she's taking the interpretation that transracial adoption is always a bad thing. I'm not going that far. I'm not going to say that every person who has love to give to a child doesn't have the right to share that love, especially if nobody else is loving that child. If you have a complaint about somebody adopted a Black baby, then go adopt that fucking baby. If you ain't ready to adopt that baby, then don't get mad because somebody else steps in and wants to love that person that you refuse, that you can't love yourself. Like, I just really think that that's something we have to be honest about. But I do think at the same time that this idea of not being able to identify with white people's, or excuse me, with Black people is very fascinating because even though she's technically and formally a transracial adoptee, I personally, my theory is this. My theory is that most of us are transracial adoptees, even if we got Black parents. Most of y'all are transracial adoptees. What do I mean by that? Think about this. Your whole life is built around assimilation. Ever since the civil rights movement, where some dumbass Negroes decided that it would make sense for you to go out and let white people beat you upside the head so you could beg them to sit at their lunch counter, you have been spending your whole life trying to get them to let you in. You spent your whole life trying to be accepted. You've spent your whole life running away from who you are and running toward who you are not. You have spent your whole life running up behind people who hate you, asking them to give you approval, to give you your validation, to give you your self-esteem, to label you, whether it's putting, Gucci or some, Fendi or whatever the hell on your ass, putting a white man's name on your ass to make you feel better about yourself, to you bragging about, which white company you work for. Like, I'm the vice president of IBM and I'm a such and such and such, right? I went to Brown University, right? I'm better than the other Negroes because white people let me into their college, right? Now, here's the thing, right? So think about this. From the time you're born, first thing your parents do, most of y'all, is they hand you over to white people to educate them. So from the time you're about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, you're spending more time with white folks than you're spending with Black people. You're spending more time with another community than you are with your own. Seriously, I mean, this is what it is, right? You go to school 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You're with that white teacher longer than you're with your mother. Right. So you're being educated in their institutions, and they are mental institutions. They are mental institutions designed for assimilation and brainwashing. Right. So you literally have been committed to a to like a mental institution where their job is to shape you and shape your thinking. So they tell you like things like George Washington is the greatest person in the world. Christopher Columbus discovered America, all this bullshit. And then when you come and you say, well, can we learn about Marcus Garvey? No, Marcus Garvey was a racist. Malcolm X was a racist. I went to school. I remember a teacher telling me Malcolm X was a racist. And I was a kid and I believed that. I was like, oh, I came home and told my dad, I said, well, I like Martin Luther King because Malcolm X was a racist. My dad was like, shut the fuck up, right? He corrected me on that, but I didn't know because when I went to school, they told me Malcolm X was a racist and Martin Luther King was a good guy, right? So we're all transracial adoptees. So you go in, first you spend 12 years in a white person's school. And then when you're out of school, you're sucking up the white man's media on every level. He's got TV shows to for the brainwashing. He's catching you in the car. You're listening to urban radio stations that like Clear Channel, where they buy all the stations all throughout the United States and repetitively play the same self-destructive, toxic music to you over and over again that sinks into your brainwashing and makes you hate yourself, makes you want to kill each other, makes you want to go waste your money, makes you want to engage in sexual irresponsibility, and makes you want to embrace the niggatry. You embrace your own genocide because they put it to a nice beat. And then you're also, of course, we know we love to spend our money with white people. Every year, magazines tell us how Black people have 1.3 trillion in spending power, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard because there's no power in giving all your money away. That's like telling your daughter, well, baby, you got a whole power. You can go fuck 18 guys in a day if you try. If you do your best, baby, you can go have sex with 18 men every single day because you got pussy power. You got whole power. You're not empowering your daughter when you tell her to do it. You're You're teaching them how to be a hoe, right? So basically, we are taught and trained to be financial hoes because our job is to serve and support other people, not to really empower ourselves. So you have gone to school in a white school your whole life, where they've been brainwashing you to tell you George Washington's the greatest thing in the world. You are consuming white media on a regular basis. You're spending your money in white businesses constantly, more so than black businesses, to the point where you hate black businesses. You hate black people that build business. Like you literally will. You ever seen it? Anybody ever seen this? Give me a yes or no. Has anybody ever seen that where you have a Negro that is obsessed with like some black business owner and whether or not that he thinks that Negro's trying to take his $20? Like he literally will like make it his life mission to destroy that business because he feels that the Negro charged him $20 instead of $18.95, and he feels like that makes him a crook and a criminal. Like seriously, like I went through this when I was talking to people about the way Negroes went crazy when Jay Morrison created the Tulsa Fund. I invested in the Tulsa Fund because I was like, well, I invest everywhere else. I might as well invest in something black. Why am I going to say yes to all this other stuff and then say no to the black man, right? So that's why I invested in the Tulsa Fund, right? But people were like, well, Dr. Boyce, we're deeply concerned. We're worried because we're scrutinizing. We did our in-depth analysis and we found that Jay Morrison, he had a criminal record. I'm like, yeah, I know Jay. Jay talks about it all the time. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he can't redeem himself, right? I mean, well, we also believe that blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, you get these Negroes that go into like CSI mode. Like you get CSI Negroes like going into heavy detective mode to find a reason to destroy a black business and to determine that a black business is fraudulent. And it's okay to do that, right? Because you got some Negro frauds out here. You got some Negroes out here running massive game. And I'm not even here vouching for anybody. What I'm really saying to you though is I need you to pay close attention. These same Negroes who will go into CSI ultra detective mode where they will literally analyze every time Jay Morrison let out a fart in the last 20 years, they've never done that with a white company. You've never seen them go into CSI Negro detective mode on Popeye's Chicken, who's delivering diabetes, sugar-coated diabetes to every black community everywhere with grease on top for whatever the price of a bucket of chicken will cost you, right? They never do that. You've never seen the CSI Negroes go into detective mode on all these other corporations. You didn't do that when Nike put Colin Kaepernick on an advertisement and took grabbed $100 million out of your community because they gave you the impression that they were standing with you, when really you were only looking for white people to validate your self-esteem, right? Oh my God, they recognized us. Oh Lordy B, we're gonna go buy some Nikes tomorrow. No, you better not, Negro. Go buy you some Nike stock first. If you're gonna be down with Nike, buy the stock. Don't buy the damn shoes. Fuck the shoes, man. Buy the shoes after you buy the stock. I got Nike shoes. Nike shoes are nice, but I bought Nike stock before I bought Nike shoes. Okay, believe me, and I know which one's gonna make me money and which one's just gonna look good on my feet. Okay, so there's a difference there. So ultimately, think about this. So you went to a white school, you're consuming white media, you gave white people all your money. You probably went to a white university. You're probably still in student loan debt that you owe white folks for all the time that you spent at their university, so they can civilize you and make you acceptable for society. And then after that, all that prepares you to do what? To go into Negro heaven, which is to go work for a white man until you grow old and you die with a student loan debt and knowing that you never reached your full potential. So my point, here's my argument. Here's the point I'm making here. This is not a point you're going to really hear anywhere else because I just kind of think on a different space, and I'm not scared to share that because I know I'm smart enough that my ideas are not coming out of nowhere, is that we are all transracial adoptees. All of us are just like that poor little girl who got adopted by white folks and doesn't know who the hell she is. The difference is that many of us were at least lucky enough to have black parents in the household where we got some dose of blackness every day, right? Maybe 25% of our lives had some sort of authentic blackness connected to it. She did not have that 25%. But the other 75%, we lived the same motherfucking life. We went through the same damn shit she went through. We went through the same brainwashing process she went through. So the same way that she cannot identify with black folks, a lot of black people cannot identify with black culture in terms of what we're really meant to be. Most black people do not identify with black people. What does that mean? What does that mean? That sounds like the most retarded thing a person could ever say, but let me explain what I mean by that. Most of us think that being black means something other than what it really is supposed to mean. Most of us think that being black means, run around with a mouthful of fried chicken, knowing how to do every dance, dressing like your favorite rapper, doing shit that's stereotypically black, because that's what's been fed to you. right? It's been fed to you through media. Like black people do this, all black people do that. Now they get Pharrell, they put Pharrell in a banana dress and say this is the new masculinity. So now you got Negroes thinking all black people wear banana dresses and whatever, and want to put bananas up their butt, right, or whatever, right? So basically, your definition of blackness is completely driven by white folks. White people and white media defines what you believe to be blackness. Like I watch this very closely. When black people start saying, "Oh shoot, he a black president. Look at the way he walking. He got swag." Or they did that with Obama. And here's the thing: Obama was raised by white people, just like this one girl was. Obama, for the most part, was pretty much a white man. But Obama is a student. Obama is a politician. Obama was a chameleon. Obama knew how to grab onto whatever stereotypes were going to lead you to identify him as being one of you. So if that meant coming up on the stage and singing an Al Green song, he knew that was going to be the trigger, because you're going to be like, oh shoot, we got a real black president, y'all. Look at him singing Al Green. Since when does singing fucking Al Green make you black? That doesn't make you black. That does not have anything to do with the greatness of black people over the last 20, 30,000 years, going back to Kush and Kemet and the great things we did in Egypt and East Africa and all around the world, the kingdoms that we built. That has nothing to do with blackness. So a lot of what we think is blackness is actually really slave culture. So when a person like this lady here comes back and says, I can't identify with most black people, part of me actually is happy for her, because I'm like, yeah, because the shit that some black people throw at you and make you think is black ain't really black. Like you ever seen like a wigger? You know what a wigger is? Like a white person who thinks they black. You know what I'm talking about? You ever heard the term? And you ever seen a white person who, because most of the people in here are intelligent black people, so a lot of y'all probably don't identify with a lot of black people. I don't know. Tell me if you've ever gone through life and said, God, I don't know if I identify with a lot of black people. You ever go in a room full of black people and say, man, I feel like I don't fit because I'm not ignorant enough to be up in this motherfucker. Like, I actually want to do something intelligent, and everybody is like, everybody's into this ignorant shit that's been fed into the media. Has anybody ever gone through that? I'm like, really, like, you feel like you're born on the wrong planet, like you feel like an alien, right? And so my thought is that, when I hear her say, I don't identify with black people, it makes me think about like those white people who act really black, but they don't identify with you because they tell you don't act black, because they think that being black means, like, maybe it means having gold teeth in your mouth, or it means talking a certain way, or you don't talk black, or it means you got to eat your fried chicken like with both hands and lick your fingers, or it means you got to know how to do a certain dance and all this other stuff, or if you're a man, you got to go fuck everything that moves, or you have to behave certain ways that are stereotypically black. Have you ever seen that? Seriously, have you ever seen like a white person who really like looks at a black person who's actually got some sense, like maybe a person who likes to maybe read and stuff like that, and says, come on, you ain't black enough, or you don't act black. You know what I'm talking about? like I've gone through that. I've gone through stuff where I've been sitting there looking at a white guy who really thought he was black, and he's looking at me like, you're not black enough. Come on, you're a black man. You're supposed to. Bill Maher did that shit. Y'all remember when Bill Maher, the comedian on HBO, did that shit? Fuck Bill Maher. He gets on my nerves. Bill Maher did something where he basically was, making a joke about Obama as the first black president, and it was during the Gulf oil spill, where Obama was doing whatever he was doing to try to deal with the oil spill, and Bill Maher's like, well, I figured a real black president would walk in and pull out his gun and shoot somebody in the foot and say, we got to go fix this right now. We need to deal with this shit right now. Like he literally was like, this is what a black guy is supposed to do. So a lot of times, what people think makes you black, like their measure of blackness is just way off base anyway. So to the point where I've seen black people who come to me and they say, gosh, Boyce, I kind of like your space because you're more accepting of who I am, because I don't identify with all black people, because maybe they play Dungeons and Dragons and they speak proper English and they believe in actually reading on a Saturday night instead of going to the club. And what I tell them is, I say, number one, there's no one way to be black. If you love black people and you love the black community, then that makes you black enough. If you're doing right by your family, that makes you black. If you're a strong man and you have dignity and you work hard and you take care of business and you educate yourself and you're building wealth and you're planning for the future and you're making smart decisions and all these other things, and that to me is my measure of blackness. But then, even my measure of blackness is not the only measure that there is. There is no one way to be black. And so a lot of times these stereotypes put you in a box. They make you, like, for example, a lot of people think if you don't vote for the Democrats, you ain't black. Fuck that. Fuck you. Like, seriously, I'm not even gonna, I don't really care. I mean, I don't have an interest in voting for the Republicans or voting for Trump. But if I did, fuck you. You're not gonna take away my black card because I did not do what all the other sheep decided to do. I'm not following the crowd just because that's the direction the crowd is going, because clearly the fact that black people are losing in this country and getting our asses kicked in every measurable category says that whatever we're doing ain't working. Whatever you're doing has not been successful. Whatever you're doing with your children, it ain't working, because your children, if your children were truly empowered, they wouldn't be running around here whining and crying and running up behind white people and reacting to every little thing a white person says or does about them, right? So at the end of the day, no, I will just tell you, I don't know what's going to work for you as a black person in terms of being successful. All I'm going to say is that I know what ain't going to work. What ain't going to work is for you to just follow the crowd and do what everybody else is doing, because most black people, the majority of our community, a large percentage of our community, will have zero wealth. The median black person, that means half the population, will have zero wealth in the year 2053. Do you want to copy that shit? Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. Are you going to follow the crowd when you know that 50% of your community is expected on the current trajectory to have zero or negative wealth by the year 2053? Yes or no? Are you going to follow? Because if you're going to follow that, then I can't help you. You need to leave, because this is not a place where I'm going to affirm that bullshit, because that's stupid. I'm not going to say these things to make you feel better. I can tell you the truth. So think about this. Black kids getting their ass kicked in education. Most of these damn children can't read when they in the 9th or 10th grade. If a large percentage of people are ending up like that, then clearly whatever you're doing when it comes to education ain't working. Whatever you're doing, whatever the majority of people in our community is doing, it ain't working. So really, those who say I don't identify with the majority of black people, that could mean actually that you're ahead of your time. That could actually mean that you're one of the lucky ones, because the majority of our people are kind of brainwashed. Right. So even I will say, I'm going to confess right now that I don't identify with the majority of black people. So what I would say to this woman right here is I would talk to her about, number one, go research what it really means to be black. And I'm talking about the real definitions. Go look at people like Dr. Anthony Browder and look at examples set in the Nation of Islam and just black people that carry themselves with dignity and pride. And then people in the diaspora, the Nigerian culture, so beautiful when it comes to how they express who they are, educationally, economically, and otherwise. And then there are some elements of African American culture that show some resilience and work ethic and things like that, right? I mean, there's something you can learn from everybody, and then piece together your image of blackness, and then internalize that, and then love that, like love yourself. Like, I think for her, it sounds like a self-love issue, honestly. I think that when you don't know who you are, it's hard to love yourself, because there really is nothing there to love, because you're just kind of becoming whatever you need to be in order to fit into a specific environment. And that, I believe, is the recipe, the formula for depression. I really believe that. That's a formula for extreme depression. And so I feel bad for her for that. And I wish her parents had done more to expose her to positive examples of blackness, so that she could walk around with her chest out and say, I am a black woman. I'm proud of the black woman I am. I'm beautiful. I'm amazing. I'm extraordinary. And I'm not going to let you tell me any different. But instead, you got a black girl who's feeling bad because her skin's too dark for her to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman. And that's a very, very dangerous place for somebody to be. But at the end of the day, she's a transracial adoptee. And I make the argument that all of y'all are transracial adoptees, because the same way she spent her life trying to assimilate, you can't argue with me when I tell you that you were trained from the civil rights generation to believe that your goal at the end of the day is to assimilate and get white folks to like you. And that to me, I think is another formula for success, because you got a lot of devastated, depressed, highly educated Negroes who don't understand why they worked really, really hard their entire life, did all the right things, never broke the law, and they still broke, still mad, still struggling. They're part of what is called the angry black middle class. And all they know how to do is complain. They don't know how to fix it. All they know how to do is complain, because the civil rights generation taught you that all you do is you let white people keep kicking you in your head and you complain about it. And then eventually white people will feel sorry enough for you that some white man's going to come along and try to fix it. And then you end up very depressed about the fact that they don't give a shit. They never come around. They never fix it, because they're looking at you like, what is wrong with you? You got nigga mortis, because you don't know that there's a point where you got to understand in the midst of your nigga mortis that you got to get up and actually do something different, because whatever you're doing right now ain't working. So that's what I'm reading here. That's my interpretation. And y'all know me. So when I analyze stuff, sometimes I go from here to Detroit and back. But I hope that this helps you to kind of get a perspective on this that's a little bit different from what you're going to hear from media, because I think the goal is to dig beneath the surface so we can make ourselves into better people. So anyway, before I go, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Hit that notification bell. Also, hit the notification bell and the thumbs up button. Also, reminder, join blagenough.com. Blagenough.com is our social media platform. That's where I'm going to announce when we set up for the spades tournament. We're going to do a spades tournament, and see, look at that, I'm talking about stereotypical black stuff. I don't know anybody play spades in college. I did too. I don't care. I like spades, so fuck y'all. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not anything serious. Just something we're going to do here in Joliet. So if you live in the Chicago area or Milwaukee or something like that, or you want to just take a long drive, come on in. And so I'll put the tickets up on Eventbrite. You guys can join the spades tournament. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Just something fun for us to do. Also, I'll be in New York. October 27th. So if you want to come to our investment seminar in New York, you can feel free to come to drboycenewyork.com to get discount passes. That's drboycenewyork.com. So let's see here. Let's see. Loving this piece. Separate mindset. Keeping it 100, bro. Real love from the overseas, bro. Thanks for the great content. Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for those kind words. I think a lot of y'all are overseas. How many of y'all are from overseas right now? How many of y'all from other countries? Shout out your country if you're from overseas. Or if you're not from overseas, you can shout out what city that you're in. And I see Black Panther from East Oakland says Shaniqua. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be in Oakland very, very soon. I just got invited to a church out there. I think we're gonna do something. I believe it's January, maybe. Once I find out the date, I'll announce it and everybody will be invited. And also, speaking of churches, July 11th, you guys know next year, July 11th, I'm getting married on South Side Chicago, the University of Chicago campus at the Rockefeller Chapel. And that was an ideal location because the church is big enough to hold 1,600 people. And also, she's a third generation graduate of the University of Chicago. And I wanted to be on the South Side of Chicago so that I could invite the community. So everybody's invited. I'll put up the Eventbrite tickets if you guys want to come out, and we'll have a public reception and everything, because I want you all to be able to share in this celebration of Black love. So I'll keep you guys posted on the developments with that. Okay, I see Japan for Jay Reeves. David K is in England. David K, I know you, brother. I know your name. You're still going to the Breakfast Club, Doc, says Cameron. You know what? It's real weird. Like, I'll hit Charlemagne up. Charlemagne will say, email Eddie. I email Eddie. Eddie doesn't email back. And then I text Charlemagne and say, hey, I email Eddie. He didn't email me back. He'll say, okay, well, I'm sitting with Eddie now. Email him again. I email Eddie. And so it isn't connecting yet. So I don't really know. And I'm not blaming Charlemagne or Eddie, because, I mean, shit, they got rappers and stuff that want to go in the Breakfast Club. Like, I mean, it's okay if I'm not at the top of the list, but I don't really know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of clueless right now. I just told him, look, hey, if you want me on, I'll come on. If not, and actually, we really don't need any more promotion for the event in New York, because I think we're going to sell out anyway. So I kind of don't even want to go on there and mention the New York event. That was one of the reasons why you go on shows, is if you want to tell people what you're doing. But we have so many people that are coming already that I don't even really know what we would do with all those extra people. So it's all good. It's totally cool. I have mad respect for Charlemagne, because Charlemagne was always nice to me, even before anybody knew who I was, and even when a lot of people didn't know who he was. The respect was always there. So I'm just happy. I think he's a person to kind of watch, even though you may not agree with his approach to everything. He's very, very intelligent in terms of how he built his brand, and I saw him build it from nothing to something. And I just think that he's been masterful in the way he's managed that. So you never hear me say anything bad about Charlemagne. I think the guy's at least definitely behind the scenes. When I talk to him, he's always a stand-up guy. So much respect. Somebody says, stop stroking your ring. Why can't I stroke my ring? How about I do this? Would that make you feel better? Anyway, I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good night. Hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.